Here we go again, Miss West trying to do a voiceover for PowerPoint. This is a government PowerPoint over the different systems of government. It is in the civics domain. The objective is to describe the ways the government systems distribute power: unitary, confederation, and federal. Federal or federation. This way government distributes power. It is divided between one central and several regional authorities. Remember this one. Here's a diagram that shows the central authority, regional authorities, and how this works out. You might want to copy this down. Examples of countries with federal governments. Unitary. Unit should let you know it's a one central authority. Here's a diagram showing the central authority, and it's giving out power to the regional authorities. That's where they get their power. They don't have a separate power. This is some examples of unitary states. You might see some familiar faces. Dun -dun. Confederation. This might sound familiar to you from U.S. history. It's a voluntary association of independent states that often only delegate a few powers to the central authority. They have a common purpose. They agree to certain limitations on their freedom of action. States retain considerable independence. It's less binding than a federation. Here's a diagram showing what a confederation looks like distributing power. Examples, and most of them are in the past. You might see some familiar articles of confederation. Here's a test question. In Nigeria's government, power is divided between central and regional authorities. This is an example of which government type? Right. I hope you paused it and got that right. Something else you're going to see with federal is sometimes it'll say local governments instead of regional authorities. And central might also be called the national government or national authority. Here's a spectrum going from unitary to confederation, where you have a strong central government to the weaker central government. Unitary, all key powers are held by the central government. At confederation, state regional authorities hold most of the power, and federal system of government is in the middle. We're going to now explain how governments determine citizen participation. Autocratic, oligarchic, and democratic governments, also known as autocracy, oligarchy, democracy. And these were vocabulary words, so this is just going a little bit more in depth. In autocracy, there's low or no participation by the citizens. The government power is very high. And in oligarchy, there's low or no citizen participation. The government power is high, and certain citizens' participation could be high. In a democracy, there's low or no participation. I mean, there's high participation on the part of the citizens, and the government does have a lot of power. Hope you got that. Autocracy. One person possesses unlimited power. The citizen has limited, if any, role in government. Autocratic is the oldest form of government, also known as a dictatorship, one of the most common forms of government. They maintain power through inheritance or ruthless use of military and police power. Could be an absolute or totalitarian dictatorship. Examples: Adolf Hitler, Stalin. People lack the power to limit their rulers. These are examples. You already know about monarchies. current one is Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Oligarchy is government by the few. Sometimes a small group of exercises control, especially for corrupt and selfish purposes. The citizen has a very limited role. The group gets its power from military power, social power, wealth, religion, or a combination. Usually, political opposition is suppressed, sometimes violently. Examples: communist countries such as China, leaders in the party and armed forces control the government. Autocracies and oligarchies, they claim they rule for the people, but in reality the people have very little say in both types of government. For example, they may hold elections with one candidate or control the results in other various ways. Even when these governments have a legislature or national assembly, they often only approve decisions made by the leaders. Sample test question: what is a basic way citizens of a democratic nation can influence the government? Ta-da! I know you got that right. Here's another objective. Describe the two predominant forms of democratic governments, parliamentary and presidential. These were also vocab terms that you had in chapters 1 and 2. Parliamentary democracy is a system of government having the real executive power vested in a cabinet composed of members of the legislature who are individually and collectively responsible to the legislature. They're called the parliament. They may have a prime minister elected by the legislature. A presidential democracy, a system of government in which the president is constitutionally independent of the legislature. The executive branch exists separately from the legislature, to which is generally not accountable. In which system of government does the legislature elect the executive leader of the government? That was a quick one. Another sample test question. Which statement about Great Britain's parliamentary system of government today is true? Hope you get that one right. In most democratic countries, the government is divided into 3 branches: executive, legislature, and judicial. In Canada, the legislative branch is the where they used to be colonized by whom and what kind of government they have. Parliament. Parliamentary democracy, here's some examples: Israel, Canada, Australia. And they all used to be British colonies. I'm not going to read that to you. United Kingdom. I'm not going to read that to you either. Monarchy. Saudi Arabia. Theocracy. This you probably had in world geography, world history, is a form of government in which a deity is recognized as a supreme civil ruler, but the deity's laws are interpreted by ecclesiastical authorities, bishops, mullahs, etc. Could be a priest. A government subject to religious authority. So if their government is based on the religion, it's called a theocracy. Just like theology is the study of religion, a theocracy is the government based on religion. Communist. China has a communist system of government, which you all know from world geography, world history, and it's, you can read it. Sudan and Cuba are dictatorships, while South Sudan, they had a civil war, so this is a little bit outdated. A form of government in which a ruler or small clique wield absolute power. It's not restricted by a constitution or laws. And we are done. Less than 10 minutes. Woohoo!